This show is part of the HeadStuff Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Dating Orange podcast, the podcast that focuses on Irish dating and relationships, all of the weird and wonderful parts of it. This season is packed with juicy bits, normal people telling their not so normal stories, along with some comedians, journalists, creators, therapists and so on. If you've ever been ghosted, love-bombed, breadcrumbed or simply thought, what in the name of Jesus is happening here? This is for you. Or if you're happily taken and you just want to see how hard it is for the single people out there, well then this is for you too. So today I am joined by journalist and author Aoife Moore, originally from Derry. She's now living in Dublin. She's a former BBC political correspondent and the woman who broke the whole Golfgate scandal during COVID, if you remember that. Basically, Aoife always seems to have the suss on what is going on. Well, it's to me anyway. She's like the smartest woman that I've ever met. And today we're talking about the male loneliness epidemic, the rise of the manosphere, and how young lads online are getting absolutely warped by algorithms, influencers, and modern dating culture. So a bit bleak, but a great chat, and enjoy. So obviously the manosphere and male loneliness, I feel like you are the pro on this. Like, give us some sort of a background for people who might not be aware of it.
So the manosphere has probably only gained as much traction in the last few weeks because of Louis Theroux's first ever Netflix special called Into the Manosphere, and he follows around, I think it's only 3 or 4 of these influencers who say, I mean, their kind of motivations vary when they speak to Louis, but they say they teach men how to be men. What you find from Louis Theroux's documentary is that when you press them on any of their beliefs, they're not really able to stand over them.
Yeah.
So there's instances where one, says that he wants to have multiple wives. That would be like his dream. And then when he's challenged about that in front of his girlfriend, he immediately retracts. There is another guy who is mixed race and was abandoned by his international rugby player father, who's black. He was raised by a single mother who worked 3 jobs to send him to private school. And when he is challenged on his beliefs in front of his mother, he immediately crumbles under them as well. And my personal belief from watching it, and if anyone else watches it, you can kind of see it, whether you support these people or not. I think it's a Ponzi scheme. These men at the top are making the money. Mm-hmm. And then all the vulnerable and lonely teenage men, boys, are paying this money, paying money to their telegrams, paying money to their investment schemes, paying money to get mentioned on their podcast. It's making them more poor, more vulnerable, more lonely, and then the cycle just continues.
It's these young lads that probably feel like they have no community or they have no friends or they don't belong in a circle or whatever, and then they come across these fellas online who are like, oh, you're a loser now, but you can actually be somebody. And then they're like, I am a loser.
And also what they tell them is like, it's not your fault you're a loser. But when you actually look into it, it's a vicious circle that makes them more lonely. And then the more lonelier they are, the more money they can get. So they say things like, trust no one. Well, how can you be, a happy and intimate person in terms of relationships, friendships, family relationships, if you don't trust anyone?
They met a few young lads on that show and they were saying that they loved them. They were their heroes or whatever. Who was it? That ginger fella?
Yeah.
Whatever he was doing at the time. I don't know how he made all of his money anyway, but it was basically that same sort of scheme stuff.
And all of the things they teach them is like, don't be a fucking loser. And then so much of it is around your worth is only tied to how much money you have. So if you don't have money, you're not worth anything, which is the most nihilistic and hopeless thing I can think of to be telling young men in this system, this capitalist system that we live in, where everyone is struggling to make money. Telling them they mean nothing if they're poor is one of the worst things I think you can tell someone. It's also not true. And I think, all of their messaging, trust no one, make your money, depression's not real, fuck women, you have to treat bitches like this. So naturally, if they treat bitches in the way that they're told to, women don't want to be near them.
Well, yeah.
Their friends will cut them off. Their family will start distancing themselves. Then they become more lonely. And then they're saying, well, you're not working hard enough. You need to sign up to this online course that I'm giving to teach you not to be a soy boy, whatever the fuck that means.
More and more money.
And it's more money for them. It's like every other multi-level marketing scheme. It's only the men at the top that are making the money.
Benefiting from it.
It's basically Herbalife for lonely men.
Yeah. That depression thing. One of the lads' brothers had killed himself. And he was like, I don't believe in depression. It's like, oh, what the fuck?
Yeah,
Louis did. I thought Louis was going to go in on that.
He
and
tells a young man who is a big fan of these influencers, tells Louis on the beach that he doesn't believe in depression. His brother has taken his own life through depression. And he said, yeah, but like, I don't feel sad about it. I try and turn it into a positive. Now, as someone who's lived with a lot of grief in my life, I think it is important to try and turn grief into a positive. But this young fella said he doesn't believe in depression, but had an older brother that took his own life. This inability to address your feelings is only going to make you sadder. You can't run. You can't run from your feelings. And I think I made a TikTok about this as well. But the thing I noticed the most is like, they're so afraid of vulnerability and being vulnerable. Never be sad. Also, that's why the woman thing is like, to be in a proper, emotional, meaningful relationship, you have to be vulnerable with each other.
Yeah.
But they're scared of vulnerability. They don't want to feel anything. And all the approval they're looking for is, they're not looking for approval from women. They're looking for approval from all their men. And they are looking for approval in all the wrong places. And they tell them not to go to therapy. Don't go to therapy. Therapy's for bitches. All of this just serves...
Therapy's the only thing that's going to fucking help them.
Exactly. But it just serves to make them all more lonely, pay more money. And then they keep saying they sell the poison and they pour the poison and they sell the cure. You know, Harris and Sullivan owns an OnlyFans agency but tells people that watching porn is pathetic.
Harris and Sullivan. HS Tiki Taki.
I refuse
for the rest of us.
I refuse to call him that. But like, it's absolute hypocrisy, and it's okay for me and you and people listening to this because we can see it. But like, young lads, 13, 14, 15-year-olds, they're just seeing the money and the cars. And that's what's so dangerous about it.
That HS fella, sure, he was raised by the single mother who was out killing herself working because the dad wanted nothing to do with the son, and yet he grows up and then he like speaks badly about women and has that OnlyFans thing where he says they're all load of sluts, or whatever the fuck he said, and that, you know, there's no women like my mother.
He wants to marry a virgin.
Oh, stop the lights.
He said he wants to marry a virgin, which in itself I find quite predatory. I don't know why you would want to marry someone who has no sexual experience, who is quite vulnerable in that because they have no sexual experience. This purity culture that's only for women, I find really, really disturbing. And he was brought up by a single mother, and when he's challenged about it, when Louis says, well, if you wanted to marry a virgin, that means that rules out people like your mother. You're basically saying that your mother wouldn't be up to your standard. And he said, yeah, but girls these days aren't like my mother. And I think the difference is he doesn't see women as human beings, but he doesn't see his mother as a woman. Yeah. He sees his mother as this
Madonna
person on a pedestal.
Yeah.
And his poor mom, like I have, what's the right word? I have kind of conflicted feelings about her because in one point she says like she hates racism and homophobia. She doesn't like the things that he says. And she doesn't like that women are held to a different standard about their sex lives. But then in the next instance, she defends her son and his actions and like someone, and I do not want to blame a woman for the actions of a man, but there is someone in me. It's like, well, no wonder he is the way he is if there's no dad in the picture and the man that he has is defending his terrible behaviour. Yeah.
And then she was coming at Louis saying that Louis was trying to set him up or whatever. But like,
you're not setting them up if you're using their own words.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he's saying. That's what he believes. And I don't know, I'd say she's happy enough now maybe. I'd say the money maybe cushions
helps.
the blow.
And like, I totally get it. She worked hard all her life to produce this, of course, very intelligent son. Like, it's very obvious he's smart. He's switched on. He's very attractive. If he had channeled his energy into anything good, he could be so much more productive.
He admits that himself, that like he knows what he's doing is bad.
Yeah.
He doesn't care.
Yeah.
And then like, I suppose actually while I was sitting there on the couch giving out about it, he was just saying, oh, well, I do know. And I could do something good, but I'm getting loads of money from this. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, okay, fair enough. I actually You know you're a bad person. I can't say anything else.
I don't think he thinks he's a bad person. I don't think he thinks he's a good person. I think a lot of these men don't really have any morals. I think, videoing women when you're having sex with them, in one instance he shows Louis a video of him getting a blowjob from a girl in a nightclub. I doubt that girl wanted Louis Theroux to see that video. They don't really have any ethics or morals, especially when it comes to women. But then they don't have any ethics or morals when they talk about black people or Muslims or gay people or Jewish people. Like, there's this thread of anti-Semitism that goes through basically all of them. And even in that, there's one fella whose name in it is Myron Gaines. And then what you find out is he's actually Sudanese and he has a very Muslim-sounding name. And he's changed it to Myron Gaines because he wants to be more palatable to white American people. All of this is a type of white supremacy, because even when you look at Sneeko, he's a Filipino immigrant but supports Donald Trump.
Yes, yeah.
And also a Muslim.
I don't understand that. How can you get behind Donald Trump and everything that he does? And you are one of the people that he would be exiling or whatever. Because
they do think the same as Donald Trump. They just don't think that they're like other immigrants. Sneeko finds Islam, considering some of the things he says, I don't think he's a very good Muslim, but that's not for me to say. But considering Islam teaches peace and charity and all those sort of things, I don't think he's a very good Muslim. But he comes from a Filipino family. Myron, again, he's Sudanese, but they have changed and kind of warped their identity to be followers of Donald Trump, to be these hyper sexist, homophobic, really disrespectful men, because that's what Donald Trump is.
Sneeko seemed to be, I thought, the least bad out of them all.
The guy who thinks that Satanist cabal run by Sam Smith is running the world.
Enough. I thought that was funny. That just entertained me. That was madness. But the rest of them are really.
But it just shows you
dangerous men. I thought
he seemed Sneeko did seem like a bit of a dork when he was talking to Louis, and then you're like, okay, he's just a bit of a nerd that kind of fell into this rabbit hole. And then he's outside a shop talking about how Sam Smith, the ballad singer, is in a Satanist cabal who wants to turn everyone trans.
I forgot about that, Jeff. Fucking hell.
I actually thought the most dangerous person in it was the fella Justin. He seems to be a businessman. He's married with a daughter, which is terrifying in itself. He was a steel contractor.
Oh, yes.
Came from Louisiana. Alleges that he had a very violent alcoholic mother and kind of pulled himself up by his bootstraps and, made himself what he is today. And he has this huge house and this gorgeous wife who he treats like shit. And I think he's the most dangerous because he's the most palatable. He isn't as offensive as Myron. He isn't as mental as Sneeko. He has the suits, he has the sports car. So if you were a young fella, say, at the end of high school, you're 18, you're like, that's the kind of guy I want to be like. He has the chops.
Yes.
Whereas you kind of know Myron and Sneeko were talking shit. But
when you look into that fella Justin's eyes.
Dead.
Evil.
Dead.
You can definitely tell from people when you look at them, you're like, oh, I'm going to stay away from them because they look fucking weird.
Yeah, he's the fella who told Louis that he has him and his wife have one-way monogamy and that she's monogamous to him, but it doesn't go the other way. And then he said he basically coerces her into threesomes.
Yes.
And then he says to Louis, really aggressive, are you offended? And Louis is like, oh, no. I don't care. But he wants this sort of shock value.
Yeah.
He gets
off on it.
He definitely gets off on it. And he humiliates his wife. He's standing there saying, at one point, he looks right at her and goes, if this doesn't work out, we had a great time. And
I
you
can look
actually
back at this relationship and say, we had a great run.
Yeah.
And she was like,
and you can see, in her face, why are you, their 2-year-old daughter is, running around your knees. And
I think the women probably think, oh, I know how he goes on. But he's not really like that.
Yeah.
And then he makes a show of her on the telly and she's just like, oh, fuck.
She left her well-paid health care job.
What was she doing? She was
a radiologist.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, radiologist. So, I watched Inside the Manosphere and I thought it was about 3 years too late. And I thought it was very clear to me that they were afraid that the influencers were going to cut contact. He didn't press them very hard because he was afraid they were going to say, well, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yes.
Because these are very emotionally unregulated little boys. And if they don't like the way they're being pressed.
Sure, your man HS liked it a few times and you go off to it.
Yeah. After he beat a man in the street. But
And even that, the beating the man in the street, sure, that looked like they were saying that they were after getting a predator who was looking for young children. But we saw absolutely no proof of that.
I think it was a grinder date.
And they just bet the shit out of some poor gay man who was coming looking for a ride.
Yeah. And like, obviously we don't know what happened, but it was we know that they beat someone in the street and it seemed to be they kind of let on him without any confrontation from the other person, the other
He was
party.
trying to get away.
Yeah. And like, what kind of message is that sending? I know it's okay for us adults and like especially women to watch this and say this is disgusting, but lads, they treat these fellas like gods.
Yeah. And
it's not just Andrew Tate. Like, Andrew Tate is the thin end of the wedge. He's an alleged rapist and human trafficker. But, like, it's all going the same way. It's all feeding the same disease. These lads are just the symptoms.
There was something that Myron said on his show. Do you know where he gets all the women on? And then he got Louis involved. Yeah. Was it? Is that what it is?
It's a podcast.
And then he said that there was this like fact that women,
oh Jesus, yeah,
they're riding all these men and then they retain the sperm in their body. It lives in the body, and therefore then if they go on to have children, like he's like, men, have you ever looked at your child and thought, God, that child looks like my woman's ex or whatever? It's because she retains the ex sperm inside her.
You retain the genetics of your former sexual partners, and then your child can look like your former.
They say it with such confidence, and then they bring it out as fact.
Yeah,
like.
he says it like, oh, this we have research to find this. Like, just because you said you have research doesn't mean it's factual or scientific.
Yeah, no.
And Louis really struggled to be like, hey, that's not true. Of course it's not true. But all of it goes to that purity culture. Like, women shouldn't have sex because they'll have mutant children that look like their exes, like, but men can continue to have sex with as many people as possible. It's like they just looked up convenienttheoriesforyou.com and then
that's where they pulled it from. And there was other things that they said. Your man Justin, they were up on that balcony, him and Louis, and he was saying like, look around, Louis, what have women ever created?
Yeah, what can you see around?
What can you see here? And Louis was like here? He's in a random apartment block. He was like, what the fuck do you want me to
like, Wi-Fi, the two people standing there.
Very good, yeah. But like then I was coming across all these videos on TikTok and it was like a list of all of these huge
satellites,
things that women have created.
The internet code, yeah.
I'm not able.
But even at that, when I'm saying look around, like what have women created? Women, although have created like millions of things, we've created less because we've been subjugated by men for thousands of years. We haven't had time or like the skills or education or opportunity to do all the things that men do because you keep killing us or forcing us to have your children.
Fact. And that fella Stephen Bartlett then, he was weighing in it there at some stage.
Fucking start me off.
And what was he saying about he was talking about what?
He's talking about incels, yeah.
Involuntary celibates. So in case anybody doesn't know what that is, it's a name that these men give themselves that they are celibate, not by choice. It's because women don't want them. And they say they don't want them. And there'd be different reasons.
I've went through periods of involuntary celibacy myself. Yeah.
What are they called actually? Femcells. I think there is a thing.
Yeah.
So what did he say? That we basically, as a society, should we be stepping in because these men's genes are not going to live on, and we should do something for these men who can't get women.
Yeah, so it was on Diary of the CEO, and they were talking about should we step in and help these incels because they're worried about genetics being lost. Make no mistake, they are not worried about the raising of these children. They are not worried about the development of these children, if these children are going to have good lives, if people can afford to look after these children. They're not, like, if you are a man, a wealthy middle-class man who has a good job and is worried about your genetics dying out, there is nothing stopping you from getting a surrogate. But these men are not worried about the growth of these children, about the looking after of these children, the love that these children will get. They are just worried about their own genetics because they're egomaniacs. That's all it is. And also, why should fake rap from back arse nowhere be worried about us genetics?
Like, why?
Why do you think that you are so brilliant that it would be a shame to society if you didn't procreate? People don't procreate for millions of reasons, medical, psychological, whatever it is. You are not special. Everyone is created equal. And for Stephen Bartlett to say, oh, should we step in? Right, let's follow that thought. Step in where? Do you mean like force sex workers
D
into
in the
this.
V.
Yeah, or maybe like get women to do it. What are we talking? The Handmaid's Tale now? Is that what he's talking about? Like he doesn't follow the thought because the thought is forced subjugation of women. That's what he's talking about. And then people watch this Diary of the CEO and go, yeah, good points made here. Thankfully, I think people are starting to catch on now to Stephen Bartlett. But not before time. He's had some of the most famous people in the world. And that's why I think some of this is so dangerous, because you will watch, I've watched some of the Diary of the CEO of when it was actual CEOs where people I was interested in. And I thought, yeah, that was a good episode. But he has very much like fallen down a rabbit hole now. And even like you watch some of the ones, I think the way men talk to each other, like have you ever seen the clip that went viral of him and Jimmy Carr?
No.
And he's like, are you happy?
I do know it.
And Jimmy Carr's like, oh, what a fantastic question.
Oh,
like,
fuck
it's not,
off.
like, it's not a fantastic question. It is a basic question. Men think intimacy between themselves is the most mind-blowing thing in the world, where it's what we should be teaching young boys, young children from early on, is to take an interest in each other, look out for your friends, be trusting and ask questions. When you talk to girls now, when they go out on dates or first dates or dating apps or whatever, they'll go out and they'll say, he didn't ask me one question about my life, because they're just not programmed that way. They're very, very self-absorbed and they're like, how does this affect me? I don't want to look like an idiot. The patriarchy's first victim is men.
The male loneliness thing, like they're not looking at, their male friendships or anything like that to try and fill any void that they have. It's all about women and it's all women's fault.
You need a well-rounded life. You need stable, and I can't, like in my own experience, I don't have the best family situation at times. And I'm not saying you have to get it from your family or your friends or a relationship, but there should be other avenues. Your romantic relationship can never give you everything, and it shouldn't.
Yeah.
You have to build trust and friendships. Join a community group. Speak to your neighbours. Like, you have to be part of a village in order to be a well-rounded person. And when they talk about the male loneliness epidemic, it's like, yeah, because the patriarchy has told you never be vulnerable, don't cry, don't go to therapy, strong silent type, be this like provider. Look after yourself. Go out. Meet new people. Put yourself out there. But the patriarchy has made them so afraid to be vulnerable that that's what's making them lonely.
Like in the country, men, I hate to do this, like, like the country. Well, it was
I wouldn't know anything about it.
They, like my male friend has a male friend, and basically like a huge thing had gone on with the male friend's father where he had disappeared off the face of the earth and was still knocking around, but nobody spoke about it.
Okay, yeah.
And I then was talking to my friend and was like, oh, like what is the crack there? And, do you talk to him about it? And he, okay, and whatever. And he was like, we just don't talk about it. And I was like, would you ask him?
Yeah,
maybe.
There's like was a running joke on TikTok where women were saying, oh, my boyfriend's best friend got a divorce and he never asked him why. I have been flogging the same dead horse as my mates for like a year and a half about different breakups or situations, or like women and girls know the ins and outs of every situation in their friend's life.
Situation.
And what
I love it.
But what is the, what would be the big horror in asking your friend here what happened?
I know. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah. Like, oh, I don't want to intrude. Why not? It's your friend. If your friend doesn't want to talk about it, you could just say, here, I don't want to talk about it.
That's what he was saying, that he was like, oh no, I don't want to intrude. It's not polite or whatever to be asking him about that. If he wanted to tell me, he could tell me himself. And I was like, he probably
wants to tell you.
He would like somebody to ask him.
The other side of it is the man will be like, oh, I don't want to trauma dump with my friend. And like,
because the fellas all go out just for pints.
Yeah, and I'm not saying, I don't think that men are inherently unkind or anything. I think they are willing to listen to their friends. I think they are willing to talk to their friends. But someone has to make the first move. And when it comes to other men, they are very reticent, and obviously not all men, but they are very reticent to do that. And it is because the patriarchy has told them, just mates are mates, go for pints, talk about the football,
keep
all that
it surface level, superficial stuff.
And it only goes to hurt them more in the long run.
Do you know the way, like, growing up, would have heard a lot of girls kind of say, oh, I don't get along with girls, I only get along with fellas.
I'm more like a boys girl. Like, I'm not like other girls.
100%. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
And I think it's because, like,
internalized misogyny.
Well, that as well. But like the lads don't, like, it's much more easygoing friendship. You don't get into anything deep. Whereas potentially these girls might have been questioned about certain decisions or whatever that they made by girls, because girls
or
would
challenged
do that.
on their behaviour.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's much easier for them to have these male friendships because males don't go as deep as girls.
It's surface level. Yeah, I remember an instance where I was talking to a fella and we were talking about this different person in his friend group, and he goes, yeah, I don't really trust him because like after any of us break up with a girl, he gets with him. And I said, has no one said anything to him about this? And he was like, nah.
Yes.
So like
mental.
This guy was obviously not obeying the bro code. He was going after girls after his friends had finished seeing them or whatever, and no one mentioned it. And like that's just hostility and tension that's bubbling away.
It's always there, yeah.
With girls, it's fucking handbags. Like, how dare you? Like screaming match. But the screaming match is much more healthy than pushing it all down and then getting into a scrap when you're drunk, which is usually what happens.
On the male loneliness, I have a man that wrote into me.
Okay, great.
And he had been writing to me for a few years on Instagram, kind of just talking about his dating woes and things like that.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to say...
Male loneliness epidemic.
I tried to help him at the
course,
start, and then he has a very particular kind of sense of style, and it is like a poet, like an old, like back in the day poet.
Is this an older man?
No, he's in his, I'd say 40s.
Is he trying to act like a Trinity type?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know.
Oscar Wilde, maybe. Is that the
Well, he
vibe?
was gay, but yeah.
Oh, this man is straight. So anyway, over the couple of years or whatever, I tried to give him a little bit more confidence, and I'd be like, oh, give it a go. And he was just always saying that no girls like him. Right? Okay, that's basically the fucking gist of it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I got this. Hi, little Miss Orange. It's been a
Right,
while.
first of all, right. Little Miss Orange is the first red flag. It's immediately condescending. Go on.
I knew when I read that I was in for something. I know. Hi, little Miss Orange. It's been a while since we last chatted. I suppose you're famous now and hanging out with top DJs and attending award ceremonies. You've no time for us plebs anymore.
Okay. Second red flag. He is already insulting and assuming the worst of you, a woman.
I know.
Go on.
And all I've done is try to help the bastard.
Yeah.
And I'd only been to one award ceremony, and at that, with my friend who was a DJ. So it actually all happened in one night, for fuck's sake.
Okay, so he's really
You'd think I was
monitoring the
flat
things
out.
that you're up to. But okay, go on.
Anyway, I've been off the apps for a good long while, maybe 2 or more years now. I fell into a deep and depressive hole for a long while, and I'm finally starting to come out of it. I actually asked a girl out there in the flesh today, something I had not done in years and years. She was taken, but incredibly sweet about my asking and probably making a tit of myself. It's bolstered my confidence enough where I'm at the point of thinking, will I chance my arm one last time?
Yeah.
I would love your advice though. Which app, any advice on how best to present myself, things not to do beyond the obvious ones that you post. I don't really have any female friends to ask, sadly, so I thought I would ask you and see if you would take pity on me and answer angel emoji.
Okay, the take pity on me thing is another thing I noticed.
Yeah.
This man, right, obviously really suffers from confidence issues. That's obvious. But a lot of what he said is quite condescending and rude. And then also guilt tripping.
Yeah.
Take pity on me.
It was, yeah.
So I can imagine as a partner that isn't, or even a prospective romantic partner, he's not coming off the best. Second of all, if he doesn't have any female friends, which is fair enough, like some fellas don't have female friends, whatever, would it not be an idea to try and get a female friend first before you have a girlfriend? Because if you don't even know how to platonically have a woman in your life, that might be
it's just step one, a little baby step. So that was on a whatever day that was, and I didn't reply. And I think it was like 2 days later, then he sent a second one.
Great.
Which got a bit worse. So I had put up a story, and the story was somebody writing to somebody on Tinder, and the opening message was, "Hey baby, you keen on getting renovated?" Right? And then I put
an
that
architect.
up. I said, how interesting. And he replied to that story and said, "You know what bugs me? I like to think I'm a relatively decent person. I'm not about to tell a woman I don't know that I want her to do X or Y to me, or I want to do X or Y to her. You save that kind of thing for the bedroom at some late juncture. Anyway, what bugs me? These gobshites get matches. I don't get matches. I've just done a full week on Hinge and Bumble after my last message to you. I have swiped my daily allowance every day, messaged my allowance every day, sent my bloody roses, tried to engage in amusing and entertaining ways without resorting to fancy a ride, and not one match. I give up again."
Right. Okay, so dating apps are obviously hard. And I think if he self-styles himself on Oscar Wilde, that's a very particular type of
It is,
person.
yeah.
And I actually think that that's quite...
But expressive, like fair play,
yeah,
do
I
your
think
thing.
that's really brave in its own kind of way, because a lot of what the manosphere tells them is they like just look like everyone else, have the same interests as anyone else. So he obviously has enough self-confidence that he has his own sense of style or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But that toxic thinking of like everyone else gets matches instead of me, and it's not fair. Like, don't get me wrong, the apps are a nightmare. I was on them off and on for like 2 years, would never go on them again. But there doesn't seem to be any introspection here. But like, why do you not have any female friends? And like, he said he had a nice experience when he asked the girl out and she said no. So it's
Yes.
not all the time.
Yeah.
Women don't hate you.
But then
because
very
you just had
quickly
a
he's like, boom,
yeah.
straight back to where
So
it was.
like, that woman was nice to you, even though she said no, and you actually felt some confidence with that. So for me, it's like, yeah, the apps are an absolute nightmare, but there's more going on here. And he's very quick to blame. He's very quick to be given off.
Yeah.
Like, all these other men are getting this. Like, the thing you showed, the Tinder conversation you showed, that woman was obviously horrified by that chat up line.
Yes, yeah. And he's still saying
these men get
right.
matches.
Yeah.
Like, how do you know they get matches? Because he's now on the Dating Orange being slagged off, so I don't think he got a match.
100%. But him and the style, right? Like, I'm all for it. You like wear whatever you want, but like if you were like an emo or like I don't like grunge, whatever. If you have a very particular style, that's not going to appeal to the masses. Whereas if you have a very
the Dublin
plain style,
Hunzos aren't going to go for it.
100%.
Yeah.
So like you were already whittling down, and I'm not saying like dress
Change,
plainer
yeah.
or whatever, but just be aware that
Yeah.
obviously other similar bookish type girls probably would love that.
Yeah, go to a book club. Like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think so much is put on the apps, and that fella said he was off the apps for years, which I think is pretty good, because if you are a certain type of style person, people like, especially you see girls, I think they're class that dress in like pure 1950s kind of style, and they're like pin-up gear and sort of
yeah.
stuff. Like, they're not going to be matching with the fellas with the tracksuit bottoms tucked into their socks sometimes.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, if that's what you're interested in, surely, like, going outside and going to book clubs and going to plays and going to theatre
All
group
these
and
types
all
of
those
stuff,
types
yeah.
of things. And it is scary to put yourself out there, but it's not going to be any worse than being on the apps. I think so much of the internet now has taken that face-to-face away from us. And, like, the reason everyone is so annoyed with the apps is because the face-to-face is better. Meeting someone organically is better.
Yeah.
But I don't know his personal circumstances, but his attitude reeks.
Stinks. Stinker. I know. Anyway, I kind of wrote back to him after that anyway, and I just, politely told him, you're not going to get anybody like that anyway.
Yeah.
And then he said that, sorry, I was just feeling bad. I'm actually embarrassed. But, but
Yeah.
however,
He does seem to be like relatively emotionally intelligent.
Yeah, but like as in he has dipped in and out of this over the years. I've
Yeah.
seen it. That was just by far the worst thing he had said. So I was just hoping that maybe now, maybe somebody has never heard this kind of truth before, and I'm
Yeah.
just going to give it to them and hope to God that they
Yeah.
are like, oh fuck, a mirror has been held up, and maybe I'll go forward in a different direction than I was going previously.
Yeah, and you can, like, you can ease. I'm not blaming people who fall into these rabbit holes. I think it's so easy, especially, during COVID. That's where a lot of people fell into it, because you're working from home and you weren't going out and you weren't seeing people. Some people have just social anxiety. Like, all these different factors will obviously play on how someone interacts and how much time they spend online or whatever else. But nothing is going to be solved by doing the same thing over and over.
You do need to take some serious breaks from the apps when you're going on it, because you can get so like, like women be like, men are shit, men are this, that and the other. All men want is just to find a woman, ride and dump them and whatever. And you're just going to like, I suppose you're in a bad way, and you're only going to
I've been
make it
ghosted
true.
by people who look like they like negotiated their way on Earth. Like, I've been ghosted by men that shouldn't even have my phone number, but I was like in the trenches. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
and
yeah.
you have to step away from it and just be like, do you know what? I'm worth more than this, because it's not about you. It's the algorithm, and it's what the apps are doing to our brain. It's making everyone so disposable.
It's men looking at those stats, or men looking at on the apps, and then they believe all these stats that are like,
Oh, don't even start me on those stats.
what was it? Top 80? No.
Top 20% of top 10% of men get 80% of the woman, or
Yeah,
some
that's it.
nonsense
The
like
top
that.
80% of women go for. Also, 80%. Oh, fuck me, I can't do numbers. Anyway, 80% of women go for the top 10% of men, or something like that. And then it was like, and women only want the 3 sixes. What? Six? I was just like 6-inch dick. Like, that is not it.
It must be 6 figures, 6 feet.
6 numbers. 6.
Yeah, 6 figures.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, 6 figures, 6 feet.
And what's the other one? 6-pack.
I don't think I've ever dated anyone like that.
With any of those things.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Me neither.
Yeah.
Me neither.
I did date a millionaire once,
Oh my God.
but he didn't have a 6-pack.
How did you know he was a millionaire?
Can't say it on this podcast. He owned his own company. He was very successful. Yeah.
Oh, very good. I didn't.
But again, I didn't know that when I started dating him. And
That
it
was
was
just a
nice,
little
but it didn't
like,
work
oh.
out. Like,
I hope he paid for everything, did he?
he did, yeah, it was great. But like, it didn't work. We still, we just didn't suit each other. Like, this notion that women are these shallow, frivolous, being money hungry women. Like, most single women I know are very successful and have their own mortgages.
Yeah.
And won't settle. And I think that's the thing. I think men see women now having their own mortgages or able to stand on their own 2 feet, having great careers and great friendships and like going on holidays and having these wonderful lives. And they think, oh, these girls now are stuck up and they want too much, but they never think, oh, I need to pull up my socks.
Yeah, maybe I should try and do that as well.
And then you often, and it's not even the manosphere, man, like you'll often, my male friends, my brother, like you'll be in conversations in the pub and you'll see this very beautiful girl with a very average looking guy, and one of your mates will go, oh, he must be loaded. And it's never like, maybe he just asked her questions and is really nice
He's
to her.
just interested in her.
Yeah.
Maybe he's good crack.
Men just automatically, it's the automatic thing, like
Money.
either he has a big dick or he has money. Women generally don't care. Have you seen some of the fellas who have girlfriends? It's definitely not about big dicks and money.
No.
Like, if that was what we're in, every man in Ireland would be single if that was the case.
I always think that generally, as a rule, when I look at couples, the woman is better looking than the man.
Always.
So women are happy to go for uglier men than them. Like, I'm not like looks whatever. Like, you know, obviously it's the whole package. But men would prefer to have a woman who is more attractive than them for whatever reason.
Men date for other men.
They're pals.
Men will date thinner girls even if they're attracted to girls in bigger bodies because they don't want their friends to take the piss out of them. Men who maybe are attractive, say, to trans women, will not date them because they're afraid of ridicule from their friends. So much of like male society is impressing other men. Whereas like with girls, you'll date the person and be like, he's nicer in person. Showing them pictures.
Oh, the
like,
pictures,
that's
I
not
know.
a bad,
And you're just
that's a bad picture.
tough going. Oh, stop, I've been there.
But yeah, and also like it is the whole package, and I'm sure you're the same, but I have dated stunningly beautiful men who were so dull.
I knew you were going to say boring.
Yeah, very boring or kind of stupid. Like that is part of it as well. Like I've dated people who've worked as models and actors and very nice, but not for me in the long run. Lovely to look at, but that's it. And like
Stunningly
there's also,
beautiful models and actors. If I ever saw them on the apps, I would be like, sorry, no, not for me. We're never going to go together. I was like, life will be too difficult with you. Thanks very much. Best of luck. On you go to somebody else.
no, like
And you were
I
like,
had a lovely
"Slay, let's
time.
go."
I went through a real actor model phase for a while and like had a lovely time, but it's just considering my personality and my career and the things we're looking for in life, it just wouldn't have worked. It doesn't mean I don't like them. They were lovely people and we had a nice time. But I don't think anyone really dates for someone who's that good looking. You need to be able to have a bit of crack. You need to trust the person. You need to be challenged by the person. Maybe there are people out there who are just dating because someone is really stunning, but they are few and far between.
I have a friend, a girl who's really good looking. I slag her and say she's the best looking girl in the Midlands.
Right.
Because I'd say she's definitely up there, right?
Yeah,
she
top
is,
five.
really is.
Yeah.
Top 5 in the Midlands. But the fellas that she goes for are, not only are they not attractive, right, but they're just shit people anyway. Right, so then now she's single again and I'm trying to pick out these men for her.
On
I
her
was
level.
trying to,
Yeah.
like not even, now they wouldn't have even been, they're nowhere near as good looking as her, right, fine. But like even just like nicer, smarter, funnier,
Yeah.
have a bit more of their life in order. A lot of these men that she goes for, like,
Chaos.
they would not talk about future. She would be
No.
with them for years.
Yeah.
And then another one repeatedly said that, you know, he was going to get his life in order. He had no career or anything. She has a career.
Yeah.
He was doing, of
course she does.
jobs. And then he had said, no, I'm going to keep doing it. And then she broke up with him after 2 years. And he said to her, after a few weeks after the breakup, he sent her a big text being like, he was so sad. And he really thought that she would just give him more time to get his life together.
After 2 years.
Fucking 2 years. Fuck.
And is she in her 30s?
She's in her 30s, yeah.
How much more time do you want, mucker? Like, yeah, I think with some fellas as well, like late bloomers, failure to launch, but you can't waste someone's time in their 30s for 2 years. You just can't. And I think, like, especially like when my friends are dating now and they're single, like in their 30s, some of my friends are single in their 40s. Like one of my friends is divorced, and like they're very upfront at first. Now you have to be. Do you want kids? Do you want a future? What does your future look like? Which I think is fair enough, because there's no point wasting someone's time. I was with someone for 9 years and it didn't work out. But we were very clear on what we wanted from the get-go. I don't have 9 years to pass around with someone now.
No.
Like, that was grand when I was 22 and we broke up when I was 30, 31. But, like, don't have that time anymore. And I don't think it's fair to ask someone to wait around, especially someone who has their shit together, who has a career, who might want to buy a house, whose biological clock is ticking. Or maybe they don't want kids, but you have to have those conversations.
Yeah, in your 30s. I don't like, that it feels a lot more rushed. Like in our 20s, we were able to enjoy things and just be like, la, 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 let's see where it goes. We can be together for years and years.
Yeah.
But then, like, all of my other relationships, like 5.5 years, then there was 3 years and 2 years. And now this one here, like in a much shorter space of time, you get into the fucking nitty gritty.
In your 30s, you date on steroids.
Oh, stop.
Like, I think I was with my long-term ex a couple of years, 3 years before we lived together, and I moved in with my current partner after 10 months because first of all my lease was up and there's a housing crisis, so
perfect.
But like, yeah, you do date on steroids because you don't have the time. And it's not like, I'm not in a mad rush to have a baby or get married. I don't even know if I want to get married. It's not that. It's just the general planning for the future. It doesn't necessarily have to include a marriage or a baby or anything like that. But I'm not going to waste my time messing about with someone who doesn't know what they want. Like if he decided, I think I might want to go travel the world in 2 years and take a year off, I'd be like, well, where you go, because I'm not coming with you.
No hope.
Yeah.
No. Did you watch that show? It was on, I can't remember, was it BBC or something anyway? It was a little child who got pulled into the whole Manosphere thing.
No.
And he stabbed
Do you mean
him.
adolescence?
Thank you.
It was on Netflix.
Oh.
Yeah, the Stephen Graham thing.
Yeah. Well, that all plays into it then as well.
Yeah, that you can come from a very normal home with very loving parents and everything else is perfect. But as a parent, you don't know what your child is looking at online. And I don't really like this kind of blame that people put on the parents either. Because, I have friends now who have sons and they're very young, but they're already worried about, you can be the most progressive. Look at HS Ticky Tacky, brought up by a single ma who did everything for him, who showed him what strong woman can be and what terrible shitty abandoning fathers also can be. And society still has their way with these young fellas. The internet is still going to have their way. You can prime them as much as you can, but you have to obviously try and make them as emotionally intelligent and as you can. But the internet and society, they still have to go to school. They still have to have mates. All this is going to have an influence.
Where are they getting all this information from? Like, what are they doing on the internet? And like most of the people who would be listening to my podcast are women. And so like,
hey ladies,
hello, this is for you now. Like how to, like you could be freaking out now knowing that all this is going on and that you have a son who's now flat out on the phone. He's up in his room with the phone. Like, what is he doing up there? Like, it's scary.
Yeah.
And you would just hope that, you as a parent was good enough.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily parents. Like, I have a friend whose dad retired. They're Irish. They live in Ireland, but their dad retired. And they started looking at watching trad music on YouTube and have been fully radicalised and now supports Donald Trump. And this is a man who was like left wing his entire life, anti-racist his entire life. And she was in the car one day with her boyfriend and her dad was driving. And it was a couple of years ago, obviously. And he said he called Kamala Harris a whore. And my friend kind of did a double take and was like, what? And he started like babbling all this conspiracy theory stuff. And she was like, where are you getting this? What are you talking about? And he had been watching trad music videos, and then the algorithm caught him. And he's just been sitting in the house watching. And this is a man who lives in Ireland. Like, they're not American.
Yeah.
And he, was saying all these conspiracy theories about Kamala Harris slept her way to the top and Donald Trump. And like,
you know.
And she was kind of, even at the start, she was like, I am very left-wing because my dad raised me to be left-wing. Very trade unionist, all those sorts of things. And she was like, where are you getting this? And also, why do you care about Kamala Harris? And so it just shows you, it's not always
a whore.
It's not always these like young, impressionable men. It can happen to anyone. You hear about people all the time. Like, I spoke to a politician recently who he was canvassing during the last election, and the person had a repeal the 8th sticker on their door. So he was like, okay, she repealed the 8th, so it must be relatively progressive. And when they got there, this woman opened the door. She said she was a solicitor. And when he opened the door and was canvassing for her vote, she just started spewing pure Enoch Burke style stuff. And this is someone who campaigned for repeal the 8th and worked as a solicitor. So, it can happen to anyone. But we just all we all have to be very digitally literate at this stage now. And I think there's so much misinformation on the internet. It's so easy for people to fall down rabbit holes, men and women.
I don't talk to my father anymore because he got radicalised. A good few years ago. He got Crohn's disease.
Okay.
When I was a teenager, and then he started smoking loads of weed.
Yes.
Because it actually does help the gut. And then he went fucking mental on the conspiracy theories. Anyway, he got arrested. Went into Clover Hill prison for a while. Outrageous. This was not in my background.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Without all of this that happened.
Yeah.
And anyway, just went totally bananas anyway. And
Clover Hill's not going to help someone in that kind of mental state either. I don't think that done him any good.
If he was walking down the road now, you wouldn't think he was in any sort of a mental state. But then when you start talking to him, then if he went on his Facebook page, well, fuck me. And then he got a right few followers as well with the shit that he was putting out. And he would have been an intelligent man, and he actually represented other people in court because he knew
the legal
laws.
system.
He was all about fighting TV license and all that kind of shit. That was all fine. I was like, yeah, fight the TV license.
Yeah, whatever.
But then it went ramped up anyway, and everything was conspiracy and wouldn't do the jabs and all that kind of stuff like that.
Yeah.
But now is totally right wing. And so then, cut him off there a few years ago, said I can't be dealing with that.
Yeah.
No thanks. But yeah, it just shows you, at any age, anything can happen to anybody.
Yeah. And then as the thing, we're talking about the manosphere and we're talking about the male loneliness thing, but I do think it is, conspiracy theories have always existed, but I think they are a lot more debilitating now because of the internet. I think you can lose your job, you can end up in prison because of all these types of conspiracy theories. And at the end of the day, it's only the people at the top that's making any money out of it. They're using these minions, which are the young boys looking at the manosphere, or people like your dad who they catch at a certain time in their life and then they're sucked in. Yeah. And it's not the family's fault or the girlfriend's fault or their wife's fault. It's not on them to pull them out of it. It has to be a community effort. And I've read loads of things about how to deprogram someone, and it's, not jumping down their throat. It's having one-to-one conversations where you try and challenge that behaviour with facts, rather than being you're a fucking idiot for believing that.
You
but
need some serious
that's
self-control.
easier said than done when it's a loved one and they're saying horrible, completely false things. So I don't know. I think definitely when it comes to schools and stuff now, there needs to be far more about it.
Yeah. Well,
because even what we're seeing, it's even they're saying now in schools that they're having issues with young boys who won't talk to female teachers because of Andrew Tate. There needs to be a government and society-wide challenge to this because it's not going anywhere.
What Stephen Bartlett should be doing, instead of society getting involved to help
the fucking
incels
Handmaid's
get
Tale.
rolled. Yeah. Maybe get involved and help their mental state and do something about why they're thinking this way.
People talk about, I actually just found out that I know a young man took his own life this week, and we hear often all the time about male suicide and male mental health. It's absolutely, we need to be investing in mental health services in this country, especially I don't have health insurance, and knock wood, I haven't had any psychosis or psychotic break, but your brain can just break, and it's not on, the government and the system has to be set up to help you. We know that there are teenage children who are put into adult mental health beds, even though they are children. They should be on children's wards. But we need to elect politicians that are going to advocate for that. I don't mean to be hateful, but like, I say this all the time. You call people in the North tribal, and you have been voting for the same two parties for the last 100 years,
I know, it's mad.
expecting change to happen. I don't want to get into this political thing. Like, I have no great, my work would show you this, but I don't have any great love for any political party in the Republic or the North for that instance. But you can't keep voting for the same thing and expecting different things to happen. Mental health and special needs are massive issues in this country that need to be addressed. And when the kind of end result of all this manosphere and all this right wing and all this conspiracy is going to be mental health issues. That there just isn't the resources there to tackle. Like, to get a counsellor now in the HSE in Dublin, you're talking 2 years.
Wow, is it in the public system?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what party is actually doing? Who is the best one?
But like, there is no like one party. They all have mental health in their manifestos. They all say, "Oh, we'll invest in this and we'll invest in that." But like, the HSE is a mess. We know the HSE is a mess. There's 1 million managers and not enough nurses. And like, when you look even at like the mess they've made out of the children's hospital and the money that they've wasted. But there needs to be a real concentrated effort in the next government or whoever it is next about what we can actually do about mental health. But it has to start very young, and it has to start at schools, and it has to be wraparound services for, if you are homeless, you also need to have a therapist. You might also need a drugs counsellor. You need all these things, especially like there are 5,000 homeless children in Ireland at the minute. Every single one of them children should be in therapy, because living in a hotel, living in a hotel is going to make you have a lot of abandonment issues, feel very insecure, very, very emotionally unregulated. Do you know what happens when teenagers who are emotionally unregulated get into school or get into fights? Then like, they become very angry and they lash out, and then if that goes into adulthood, we're staring down the barrel of loads of people going into prison through no fault of their own. So we need to start
step in early and like
step in early,
budget,
and also help the people that need help now. Like, so like, I go to therapy because I can afford to pay the €75 for an hour, but not many people can
actually do that. No, I know it's a privilege to have the money to be able to go and mentally help yourself.
And the reason people are turning to right wing conspiracies in the manosphere is because they want help. People are crying out for community and help. Yeah,
and men.
Yeah.
So that's it for this week's episode of the Dating Orange podcast. Huge thanks to Aoife Moore for coming on and chatting to me. And next week we have a bonus episode where we meet the next couple from my matchmaking, Mark and Claire, and hear how they are getting on. If you want to listen to that episode, you can subscribe to HeadStuff Plus through the link in the show description. Thanks a million for listening, and I will catch you next week.
This show is part of the HeadStuff Podcast Network, a hub for the creative and the curious. Shows are produced in association with HeadStuff and the Podcast Studios Dublin. Find out more or become a member at headstuffpodcasts.com.